So I want to talk about two types of projects that I believe go on simultaneously in any given practice. The first are what I'd call the black projects. I define these as material studies that result in design proposals. Material is loose. It can be literal concrete, wood, steel. It could be a drawing. But these are the things we make that propose architectural interventions. And then there's the meta project, the kind of intellectual framework that defines the overall theme of one's practice. And how these two projects evolve in relationship to one another is something I'm constantly struggling with. There's two kind of basic diagrams that explain the way I work. So when I'm working on a specific project, it's really a toggling back and forth between analysis and intuition that is driving the development of the work. And when I'm thinking about the larger project of my practice, it's toggling back and forth between the projects I'm producing over here and text-based information. I don't do a lot of writing, but I do a decent amount of reading. Most of you all, maybe you have nice shiny straight lines and clear trajectories when you're moving forward. Mine are a little more stumbling and jagged. So something that I've been working on, a series of projects that I call tectonic paintings, have been going on for the past 5 years roughly. So I want to take you through a couple of those and show how their evolution has influenced the larger red project of my practice. So Project 01, Wonderwall. This project was installed roughly 5 years ago in a gallery in LA. It's a wall. I also consider it a painting. This being the painting, the white being the frame. It was a very simple conceit. There was an interest in translating tartan fabric into architectural construction. The interest in that translation being in capturing the weave as a kind of structural lattice and the visual effects of gradients that emerge when multiple colors overlap. So it was a fairly, I think, straightforward translation, looking at sheets of material that are interlocked at 90-degree intersections, rotating them on either end, perforating and coloring them to make that translation from the logic of textile to the logic of an architectural surface. A number of explorations that tested the perforation and the flexibility of the material and different ways of detailing the seams. And this was the final painting, which I thought succeeded in terms of translating the weave, but was pretty much a failure when it came to generating gradients. So as I moved forward into Tectonic Painting 02, Punked, I really focused on trying to generate gradients, and that was where my kind of lens narrowed in. And it was a really simple or straightforward body of research where I was looking very carefully at the ratio of perforation to surface in material. So in this study, the ratio of perforation is 40% void, 60% solid. Here it's reversed, it's 60% void, 40% solid, and that those ratios allowed the material to read as translucent as opposed to opaque, and therefore generating the types of gradients that I wanted to get when multiple colors overlapped. And then this was the final product, and I felt some satisfaction in how it generated gradients across the surface, but started to feel very uncomfortable with the continued relationship of frame and surface, or frame and infill. And as much as I tried to minimize this steel frame, I had no other means of supporting this, so I wanted to work towards a model where surface and structure were simultaneous. So then Project 03, Dome, something that I've been working on recently, and this has not been constructed, and it is initially taking spheres, a study of spheres, where I'm mapping different two-dimensional patterns onto spherical forms. And understanding the dome, the hemisphere, and its relationship to ground, so this idea that you could, remove any notion of pendentives or columns or drum walls and take just the hemisphere, rotate it, and produce a kind of self-contained structural form. And then the interest of overlapping a structural logic that you see in the line work and a visual logic through the distribution of color mapped onto the surface, and it starts to produce something like this, which I haven't constructed but would like to. But also this has evolved my thinking in terms of logics of construction away from weave and towards a more stacked module. And so a final kind of diagram that shows when I started these projects, I was really thinking the meta thing was about graphic form. Now it's moving more towards contemporary tectonics and some key texts that have influenced the development of this work as well. And that's it.